Hello everyone, it's Noel from Noel's Nook, and today I'm here to share with you my picks for inexpensive art supplies every artist needs to have on hand, especially if you're just starting out. For this video, I've had to condense a lot of information to make this as concise as possible without completely overwhelming you. That being said, I'll only be touching on the absolute bare bones art supplies you'll need for drawing and sketching. So, at least for now, I won't be talking about the fun stuff like paints or markers or what have you. And with that, let's get started. Let's talk about pencils. I use mechanical pencils when I draw. These are the Techniclick pencils from the Pentel brand, and I own the 0.5 and 0.7 lead sizes. I use two sizes because I'll often use the 0.7 to sketch out my drawing and get the basic shapes and idea down. And once I've got that done, I'll use the 0.5 to refine and do some detail work. And to make things fun, I also like to switch out my graphite for colored pencil leads as well. Of course, you don't have to use mechanical pencils. You can stick with the OG, the original wooden pencil. You can get multi-packs of these really cheaply and they can last you a while. But if you want a pop of color, there are eraser-friendly colored pencils like the Prismacolor Col-Erase. These are probably the most well-known erasable colored pencils. They're great for sketching. And alternatives to these would actually be teachers' checking or grading pencils. And even some children's art supply makers have lines of erasable colored pencils as well. I don't have experience with the latter two options, but they may be worth checking out if the Col-Erase line is a bit out of your budget. There are a lot of advantages as well as disadvantages to mechanical and wooden pencils, but we'll save that discussion for another video. If you're opting to use traditional pencils, you're going to need some sharpeners handy. For years, I used small manual sharpeners like these, and at the time, they were convenient and cheap, and they did the job for the most part. However, I have since upgraded to a hand crank model, the Mitsubishi KH20 to be exact. I don't have much experience using electric sharpeners and therefore can't recommend one like I can this baby. I've had it for 2 years now and I still love it. And you may think it's crazy to spend $20 on a pencil sharpener, but if you plan on using it often, you'll want quality that lasts. Next up, anytime there's pencils involved, erasers will follow suit. The erasers I constantly go to are these. They were from a multi-pack from the Dollar Tree. I believe there was something like 5 of them in a pack, and I have used all of them except for this red one. I don't use it quite that often except for maybe when I'm writing, since it tends to stain the paper red. But other than that, they're pretty good erasers. I love them. They're super cheap. They work really well. But I can't talk about erasers without talking about my baby. The Papermate Tough Stuff eraser stick. As you can see, she has been through a lot. She's well loved. She has seen some things and she's gone through some tough times. As a matter of fact, she's actually no longer available on the market under the Papermate brand. She was discontinued a few years ago, but was brought back under the General's Factis brand name. I've since stockpiled years worth of eraser refills. And you may be wondering why I am obsessed with this eraser. Well, because look how tiny this point is. It's incredible. If I'm refining a pencil sketch, she's there to help me out. And she's really similar to a plastic eraser, which means she can handle the tough stuff. Okay, I'm done. But seriously, this eraser is amazing. I never sketch without it. And it's not just great for pencil sketching, it's also fantastic to use with charcoal as well. Moving on to paper, when I was growing up, I drew on whatever paper happened to be lying around. My mom came home with paper like this from her office that they were getting rid of, and my very first drawings of anime characters were drawn on this paper. And after I got through that, I started drawing in lined sketchbooks, or notebooks rather, they were lined notebooks, as well as computer paper. And then eventually I graduated to using sketchbooks, but they weren't anything fancy. They were just something that you could get from like your local drug or dollar store. I didn't start using nicer papers until I was much older, and even now, if I'm only sketching an idea down, I prefer using whatever paper's lying around. If you're really in a bind and just need paper to do pencil sketches on, you can get a ton of computer paper quite cheaply, but be warned, I'd only advise this if you're using straight up pencil, as computer paper is flimsy and isn't really good for much else. In the same vein as the computer paper, a lot of art YouTubers recommend getting bulk cardstock for sketching as well, which is something I don't have experience with, but wanted to note nonetheless. With all that being said, I highly recommend you look into student quality papers. The Strathmore brand is really well known for providing student as well as artist quality papers. They're not the only brand though. There's tons of brands out there that offer varying qualities of paper, but Strathmore is the one that's really recognized. Also, buying larger format sketchbooks and cutting them to size yourself can oftentimes be more economical than buying their smaller size counterparts. My video on making DIY sketchbooks touches on this topic a little bit more if you'd like to check it out. Now comes the optional but still pretty important tools you may need or want to try out. Rulers. Yeah, you probably didn't think about these babies, did ya? While I wouldn't say that rulers are absolutely necessary when drawing, they're definitely handy to have if you're working on perspective or pieces that require symmetry. In conjunction with rulers, you may also want to look into protractors or even drafting compasses as well. Just not this one. This one is terrible. Next up is inking supplies. It's definitely more on the advanced side, but inking supplies, when thought of as an investment, aren't that expensive. And I don't mean liners. I mean legit dip pens and ink. Nothing against liners. They can come in handy and they come in a variety of nib sizes, but they can dry out and they're kind of wasteful since you have to purchase new liners once your old ones are unusable. I grew up with the Speedball sketching and cartooning sets, and I use this Pro Art Indie ink. Having not used liners until I was in late high school, I definitely recommend the Speedball sets if you're starting out, as they have a great range of nibs to experiment with. And as for ink though, I can't really recommend anything for certain right now since I haven't bought Pro Art ink in so long, and I don't know if the quality has held up over the years. And the ink that I use now, which is the Black Cat ink from Blick, I don't really like. So I would say do a little bit of research and experiment. Lastly, and this is really only if you want something to like make sketchbooks with, like I said before, out of maybe larger format paper, you'll need bookbinding supplies. So whether it be with staples or loose leaf binder rings like this, or if you go the bulk computer paper route and you buy a bunch of that to sketch on, you can get a binder and some page protectors to keep all of your drawings in. So yeah, if you want to make your own sketchbooks or just keep your drawings organized over time, you'll definitely want these in your arsenal. And a shopping tip for you. The best time of year to shop for art supply basics is back to school season, aka right now. Art and office supply stores have crazy mad sales this time of year, so be sure to check ads and coupons to get the best deal you can on the supplies you need. And that's it! You don't need to throw down tons of money to get started with art. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more art-related content, I would totally appreciate if you would subscribe. And remember to draw what you love and love what you draw. Even some children's art supply makers have lines of but they may be worth checking out if these Col-Erase line, oh god, I can't talk this morning. I'm like out of the shot. If you're opting to use traditional Pentels, you can get a ton of computer paper